As early as the Spring, Autumn, and Warring States period, from the 8th century BC to the 3rd century BC, the Chinese people started to build the 10,000 li Great Wall. In 221 BC, the first Qin emperor ended the split that arose in the Warring States period and established the first centralized feudal empire in China's history. He connected the existing walls in the north and expanded this into a 10,000 li wall. Successive dynasties continued construction of the wall for over 2,000 years, with a total length of more than 50,000 kilometers. The Great Wall stretches over vast northern and central China. As the biggest ancient defensive project with the longest period of construction in China, and indeed in the world, it is reputed to be one of the world's 7 wonders of medieval times, together with the Roman Colosseum and the Leaning Tower of Pisa. People today can hardly imagine how glorious the empire of the first Qin emperor was. However, the accidental discovery of a part of his mysterious mausoleum in one corner of an icy mountain has shocked the world. The mausoleum of the first Qin emperor is one of the most uniquely structured, largest, and most richly outfitted royal tombs in the world. Its discovery is regarded as China's greatest archaeological achievement of the 20th century. These clay figures of terracotta warriors and horses compose an unprecedented underground army in great number and order, and demonstrate its all-conquering power. They are the precious cultural wealth of mankind that can match the Pyramid of Egypt and the sculptures of ancient Greece. From the 6th century BC to the 5th century BC, China assumed the open aspect of letting 100 flowers bloom and 100 schools of thoughts contend. In 551 BC, Confucius, the founder of traditional Chinese culture, was born in Chufu, Shandong province. Confucius was born to a declining aristocratic family and went through all kinds of frustration during his lifetime. But he never gave up his ideal to bring peace and stability to the country, and tried his best to advocate his proposition of administering the nation with benevolence. In his later years, he devoted himself to culture and education. Thereafter, his thoughts have been passed on from generation to generation. Confucius had been respected and followed by all feudal rulers of past ages. The shift of dynasties did not affect the illustrious position of the Kong family. The charm of Chinese culture is recorded in the stories of legendary figures in history, as well as in the stone carving art which has survived a long period of time. The Yungang Grottos in Datong, Shanxi province represent the outstanding Buddhist cave art of China in the 5th and 6th centuries AD. Having vividly illustrated the development history from Indian and Central Asian Buddhist art to Chinese Buddhist art, they are the beginning of Chinese cave art. The Longmen Grottos of Luoyang, Henan province, are the best example of the plastic arts of China from the end of the 5th century AD to the beginning of the 10th century AD. Images of Buddha have transformed over time from suffering Indian monks to the benign monks of the Tang dynasty. The understanding of and strong pursuit of its own national aesthetic sense and style made cave art tend to be more Chinese and more secular. It is a milestone in the development of China's cave art. More than 1,200 years ago, while cave art in the Huanghe River Valley declined, the Dazu rock carvings in the Yangtze River Valley prospered. The rock carving series preserved in the steep hillsides in the Dazu area are one of a kind. It is a good example of the development from cave carvings to rock carvings. From the religious to the secular world, these rock carvings vividly reflected everyday life in China from the 9th century AD to the 13th century and provided outstanding evidence of the harmonious synthesis of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucian beliefs of this age. The Dazu rock carvings are not only the pinnacle of Chinese secular cave art, but also a series of rock carvings with the essence of Chinese rock art. They can be rated as the representative of China's cave art in later periods. In the Gobi Desert of northwest China and along the famous Silk Road, there exists an oasis connecting the ancient Oriental and Western cultures. This is the Dunhuang Mogao Caves. During the long period of more than 1,000 years starting from the 4th century AD, people of different ethnic groups and different ages demonstrated their art talents here and created a unique, cultural treasure of mankind. Thereafter, the famous Dunhuang study came into being. Lying at the center of the capital, Beijing, the imperial palace of the Ming and Qing dynasties is China's largest and best preserved existing ancient palace complex. The imperial palace of the Ming and Qing dynasties, also called the Forbidden City, was completed in the 18th year of Yongli's reign in the Ming dynasty, 1420. The revolution of 1911 overthrew the Qing dynasty, the last feudal empire of China. In 1924, Puyi, the last emperor, was driven from the palace. For over 5 centuries, 24 emperors of the Ming dynasty and Qing dynasty lived here and exercised their autocracy over the whole country. Its symmetric structure with focal points embodies not only supreme imperial power, but also the goal of unity and harmony of Chinese culture. The Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Central Harmony, and the Hall of Preserved Harmony are the 3 major halls in the center of the outer court. They express ancient China's ideas about ruling and its philosophy of life, the coexistence of all things, and harmony with differences. Gong, the Palace of Gathering Elegance, was the bedroom of the last emperor Puyi and Empress Wanrong. Its furnishings remain the same as when they left the palace. The Hall of Mental Cultivation used to be the bedroom of Emperor Qianlong, whose reign lasted for more than 60 years, the longest in China's history. In the late Qing dynasty, 2 empress dowagers, Cixi, who held court from behind the screen, and Cian lived here at the same time. The Forbidden City is strictly symmetric and courtyard patterned, and its design follows the ancient rule: the outer court for the emperor to exercise his power, and the inner court for the emperor to live with his family. The magnificent halls of the outer court demonstrate the supreme dignity of the emperor. The femininity of the inner court and the manliness of the outer court form a sharp contrast. Chinese emperors, each claiming to be the son of heaven, would worship heaven each year at the Temple of Heaven, praying for a good harvest and peace. The Temple of Heaven fully expresses the understanding of the ancient people of heaven, the relationship between man and heaven, and their wishes for heaven. It is the largest existing ancient sacrificial complex in China. In 1929, in Zhoukou village, southwest of Beijing, archaeologist Pei Wenzhong discovered the first skull of Peking man, which provided evidence that primitive people had lived here 200,000 to 700,000 years ago and changed the understanding of history regarding man's use of fire to hundreds of thousands of years earlier. In a northwestern suburb of Beijing, there is an imperial garden with a long history, the Summer Palace. The name of the garden was given by Empress Dowager Cixi. Empress Dowager Cixi was chosen for the palace at 16 years old and became one of numerous women for the emperor. She not only gained the favor of the emperor, but also ruled China for as long as 48 years, by attending to state affairs from behind a curtain. The East Palace Gate of the Summer Palace was the place the emperor granted audience to court officials. Empress Dowager Cixi used to issue orders from here as well. Kunming Lake in the Summer Palace used to be the venue where the Qing emperors reviewed the navy. In 1886, Empress Dowager Cixi, in the name of restoring exercises for the Navy, rebuilt the Summer Palace. Empress Dowager Cixi was fond of Peking opera. A theater building was especially built at the Summer Palace for her 60th birthday. The building is 21 meters high, and the stage is 17 meters wide. There are 5 deep ponds under the stage and 5 pulleys in the ceiling. The actors can use special effects for action on stage, such as mounting the clouds and riding the mist. The Summer Palace reproduced, in the north of China, the water and mountain atmosphere of the south. It is a masterpiece of Chinese landscape garden architectural art, as well as one of the biggest royal gardens in the world. The imperial family built a mountain resort in Chengde, Hebei province, as a summer resort for the emperor. The emperors of the Qing dynasty spent much time here dealing with political and military affairs, meeting foreign envoys and political and religious leaders of minority nationalities from border areas. This became the second political center of the Qing dynasty. In the Chengde Mountain Resort, there are not only pavilions but also natural scenery, such as pasture land, hills, and lakes. Polished and natural beauty illuminate one another here. The mountain resort is located in the famous Bashang pastureland, where the Man, Hmong, and other nationalities live together and have preserved strong features of nomadic culture. The 12 temples of different styles surrounding the mountain resort are commemorative structures built by the Qing government to unite the minority nationalities of Mongolia, Xinjiang, Tibet, and other areas. They, together with the mountain resort, compose the large existing ancient imperial garden and temple complex in China. The 10,000 hand and 10,000 eye Bodhisattva Guanyin enshrined in Puning Temple is 22.28 meters high and measures 15 meters around the center. It is the biggest wood-carved statue of a Bodhisattva in China. In ancient times, Chinese people regarded death as important as birth. The emperors often began to construct tombs for themselves as soon as they ascended the throne. The East Qing tombs are a grand system of tombs for the emperors, empresses, and concubines. Emperor Kangxi and Emperor Qianlong, whose reign was called the Age of Prosperity by historians, are both buried here. Empress Dowager Cixi, who had a great influence upon China's modern history, is buried here too. According to traditional Chinese geomantic theory, these tombs molded man's spirit into great nature and expressed the world outlook that man and heaven are one and have a solemn, noble, and eternal atmosphere. Wunushan City is located in what is known as Mount Wunushan, Liaoning Province in northeast China. This is the first city of the Gaogoli, a northern border nationality in the Han Dynasty in the early stage of the kingdom. From the city ruins, people can still see the grand scale of the construction at that time. It followed the traditions of the northern nationalities in China of constructing mountain cities. Today in China, there are still some cities without tall buildings but with a splendid history. Since China's county system was adopted in 221 BC, Pingyao has been a county city, the most basic level for cities in China. It has well preserved the basic features of a county city of the Ming and Qing dynasties, right up to the present, and can be rated as the best preserved ancient city in the Han nationality areas of China. 日升昌, China's first banking house, was created in Pingyao City in 1824. The banking houses in Pingyao took honesty as the top priority. With primitive communications and primitive means of transportation such as horses and manpower, deposits and withdrawals could be realized just like a modern bank. In the middle and latter part of the 19th century, Pingyao became the headquarters of the most influential banking houses. Pingyao Ancient City played a positive role in the development of China's modern economy for more than a century when its banking houses were flourishing. In Xidi and Hongcun, two villages in Anhui Province, village features have been well preserved and not lost or changed as in other places. Xidi Village, due to its flexible space, simple and elegant colors, and various wood, stone, and brick carvings, is typical of Anhui-style architectural art. In the early 15th century, the Hongcun people enacted a thorough reform of its water system in order to realize an ideal living environment, facing the water with the hills behind them. These vivid wood carvings are like a picture storybook. While modern people are seeking a view of bodies of water as a symbol of fashion, Hongcun people already understood and enjoyed water running in front of and behind their houses 600 years ago. From the 16th century to the 18th century, the construction of classical gardens in Suzhou reached its peak and was regarded as heaven on earth. The exquisite design of these gardens expresses the profound artistic conception of Chinese culture, of coming from nature while surpassing nature. To appreciate the gardens of Suzhou, you must walk, so that you can get an understanding of the profound design of different scenes from different angles. Within a few feet, another world is revealed. The gardens of Suzhou are acknowledged as a model demonstrating design philosophy. The classical gardens of Suzhou are the perfect combination of wealth and culture, as well as a sincere collaboration between master designers and skillful craftsmen. Macau is a pronunciation of the Chinese word mazu. From the middle of the 16th century to the 19th century, Macau, as China's major external port, was the earliest and most important location of China's most voluminous contact with Western objects and culture. With the settlement of foreigners, Macau became the first stop for Western architecture in China. For hundreds of years, prosperous Mazu Temple has been the most magnificent and important landmark structure in Macau. The historic center of Macau has preserved the best part of 4 centuries of historic cultural exchange between China and the West. It is the oldest, largest, and best